Bueno, señores, aquí estamos en una entrevista especial, una entrevista importante. Tenemos nuevamente en nuestros estudios al gobernador de Pensilvania, nuestro gobernador Josh Shapiro. We have him right back in our studios again. Governor, how you doing?
We're back. It is good to be with you, and thanks for always welcoming me back.
No, listen, anytime you want to come by, our doors are always open. I think this is like the third time, right, that you come here to our studios?
Easily three, maybe more, and I know we've talked over the phone too. But listen, man, I've invited you to come to the governor's office and interview me there. You gotta come. I need you to come.
I'm waiting for the day and the time. You tell me when, and I'll be there.
All right.
So you're in Allentown. There's a lot of things going on. I've been hearing about all this budgeting stuff and everything that is happening. I just want to get it out of the way. During the last few months, you've been busy. A lot has been happening with you. You've been getting a lot of national attention. Obviously, with you being in the run or in the list or being considered for the vice president position, I just want to ask you, in a personal level, how was the experience of going through that process?
You know, look, it was obviously really humbling that Vice President Harris, wanted to engage in that dialogue with me. And I will tell you, I always said for her, it was a deeply personal decision who she wanted to run with and govern with. And in the end, it was a deeply personal decision for me too. I want you to know that that process was not only humbling, and I'm grateful for it, but it also just reaffirmed my commitment to doing this work as governor. I love what I do. I love being able to chart my own course. I love being able to see a problem and fix it, show up in communities like this here in the Lehigh Valley and actually listen to people and translate that listening into direct action. And so while it was obviously chaotic and all that stuff, the truth is what it really did was reaffirm to me just how much I love doing what I'm doing. And I'm so glad I get to do it for a good long while.
Now, I was at the convention in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I got to see in the building how well received you were when they introduced you to give your speech.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we here know who you are.
Yeah.
You are our governor. But now you got millions of people and people in other states who know who you are, have been looking into the great job you've been doing here in Pennsylvania. How was the experience of standing on that stage and seeing those thousands of people from different states knowing who you are and obviously admiring the work that you've been doing in Pennsylvania and the fact that they would have not mind if you would have been the candidate?
Look, Victor, I mean, first off, it was an awesome convention. And I think one of the things hopefully you saw because you were there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most folks at home just saw who was speaking.
Yeah.
You got to see the audience and how they came from different walks of life. They were wonderful people, really diverse. It was just really incredible. I will tell you that when I got to walk out on that stage to give my speech about freedom and rights and how we're standing up for folks in Pennsylvania and how we got to do that all across this country and elect Kamala Harris, I want you to know it was humbling. It was humbling to feel the love in that room. And it was humbling to feel the love in that room, not just when I was on the stage, but when I was walking through the crowd.
Yes.
The fact that people have taken note of the work we do here, the fact that folks view kind of the common sense stuff we do every day, good schools, safe communities, investing in small businesses and economic opportunity, protecting people's rights, the fact that they view that as a formula for success, the way we get stuff done here in Pennsylvania, it's really humbling. This is my life's work to be a public servant. And the fact that people across the country are taking note of that was really quite special.
What is your take on the attention that Pennsylvania is getting as center of the storm, the most important state in this coming elections, and how everyone wants to know what's going to happen with your state, with Pennsylvania?
Well, Victor, I know you hear a lot of different opinions on your show.
Yeah.
And sometimes those opinions are divided along Republican and Democratic lines. It's cool if people have different opinions. Here's one thing that I know Republicans and Democrats agree on. The whole presidential race is coming down to Pennsylvania. This is like the ultimate swing state. And so we view that as a real responsibility here that we've got to address. And we got to make sure we get the vote out. And for me, of course, I'm fighting hard to make sure Kamala Harris gets elected our next president.
What are you going to be doing, if you know yet, as far as trying to make sure that Pennsylvania comes out for Kamala Harris?
Well, I'm doing everything I can to make sure people know the Kamala Harris that I know, someone I've known for nearly 20 years, someone who's a dedicated public servant who likes me, like me, really believes in safe communities, making sure we've got economic opportunity, that we're cutting taxes for small business, that we're investing in police in our community to ensure that we have safety. She and I share a lot of the same views and vision on that front. And so I want to make sure the good people of Pennsylvania know about that I'm sharing her story and making sure people, have a plan to vote and get out to vote.
So now let's get down to business here in Pennsylvania. As far as what are you doing? What are you doing here in the Lehigh Valley?
Man, I'm working my tail off, Victor, as I always am. But I was here in the Lehigh Valley today to sign our education budget into law. You and I have talked a lot over the years about making sure every single Pennsylvanian has the freedom to chart their own course and the opportunity to succeed. And we know that opportunity comes when you've got a great school, when you've got safe communities, and when you have economic opportunity in your neighborhoods. And so this budget invested in all three of those things. More funding for our schools, especially schools like our Allentown schools that have always been left behind.
Yes.
This was an historic investment, something I promised to do as a candidate, and we're delivering as governor. We also invested in hiring more police and also in supporting our community that deals with violence prevention and making sure that our small businesses get tax breaks, our small businesses get grants and loans, that we're investing in our main streets to support those small businesses. Really great stuff like that.
We, when it comes to the schools, and you're talking specifically about Allentown. How specifically is the Allentown School District going to be able to benefit from this new budget, from what you came here to exactly talked about?
Yep, and I mentioned Allentown as just one, but other school districts will too. I was at Emmaus High School today. They're going to benefit as well. Here's the basic bottom line. We had an unconstitutional education funding system. Why was it unconstitutional? Number one, because we didn't invest enough money. And number two, because we didn't send the dollars out to the districts that needed it most. We addressed both those challenges. We increased funding for public education by over $1 billion.
Wow.
That's a massive number. And importantly, we have a new formula. So 65% of that new money is going out to the districts that need it most, like in Allentown, for example. So you're not only, increasing the pot, but you're making that pot go a lot further into the districts that need it most.
And you mentioned Allentown, but as you say, this new budget has a record amount of funding for schools in general in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
I was looking at the numbers, and it's been quite a few years since there's been an investment of this magnitude for the school system.
No, that's exactly right. And listen, I understand it's like hard to hear me talk about $1 billion and $11 billion. Like, it's hard to even know what that means. Let me tell you what it means. It means significantly more funding for the school districts like Allentown that need it most. It means universal free breakfast. So kids now get free breakfast when they show up at schools. It's over $100 million just to hire mental health counselors in our schools. It's fixing up and repairing schools that have asbestos and lead or need air conditioning. We have a new fund just for that. It means making sure that we've got money to hire and recruit more teachers. So it's dollars that go to solving big problems in our education system.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because it's not just only investing on making sure kids got books or laptops or computer. It's more than that.
Yeah, exactly. It's making sure we deal with the whole of the child, right? All of their needs. It's making sure that those who speak Spanish and learning to speak English, that they get supports in their school to learn English, but also to be able to receive the instruction they need in Spanish. It's making sure we update and upgrade all of the tools of learning students have. It's reducing class sizes so students can get more direct instruction. All of the above is benefited by this budget that I worked really hard to pass. And listen, Victor, you know this, but I think it's important for your listeners to understand I am the only governor in the country with a divided legislature. What does that mean? The Senate is led by Republicans. The House is led by Democrats. Yet I was able to bring Republicans and Democrats together to make this historic investment in public education.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because in the world that we live of a part of, partisan politics and these fight between Democrats and Republicans, how have you been able to do it? How have you been able for the last year and a half, 2 years to get things done, having a divided local state Congress?
Look, it's not easy, but I will tell you what I try to focus on is not our differences, but the areas where we have some commonalities, some common goals. And we may not always agree on the solution, but at least we know we're kind of rowing in the same direction. So I knew I could get Democrats and Republicans to agree that we got to invest in small businesses. Now, we didn't all agree on every issue, but we got that done. I knew I had to get them to invest in public education. We didn't always agree on the specifics, but we ultimately got there. I think by focusing on areas where we kind of share a similar direction, as opposed to just the areas that divide us, that helps move our Commonwealth forward.
Why do you think that we haven't been able to figure that out on the federal level?
I don't know. I don't know.
You go. That's a quick way to. I just don't know.
Yeah,
right?
It's hard. And look, I'm focused on the state, building bridges with Republicans and Democrats, and trying to find ways to get people to work together to solve problems. Look, I'm very action oriented. To me, you got to give a speech and you got to share words of encouragement, sometimes. And that's, I know that's an important part of my job as governor, but the most important thing I can do as governor is put points on the board for Pennsylvanians every day, move the ball down the field, score goals. And the way you do that is by working together with people to accomplish those tasks.
I know there's a budget not only on education, but there's a lot of funding that you guys were able to get through, big things that you guys were able to get through. What are some of those other things that you guys were able to manage to get through and that are going to be making a big difference?
Look, we got funding to hire 800 new state troopers over the last two budgets. We got funding to allow municipal police departments, think like, for example, the Allentown Police Department, to be able to hire across the state 2,000 police officers and support them. Also, over $100 million just for local community organizations dealing with violence prevention. Cutting taxes for small businesses, investing in our main streets where so many of our prominent businesses are here in Allentown. I mean, those are just examples of a few things. Trying to make college more affordable. We passed higher education reform. That was a really big deal. Funding to make sure that people with intellectual disabilities and autism could get services in their communities. That's a really, really big deal. It was personal to me. I wanted to make sure we got that done for these wonderful folks I've met along the way. Those are just a few examples of the many bipartisan achievements in this budget.
Last time you were here, we were talking about the fact that you were trying to hire people who want to serve in government but not necessarily have the higher education. How are we doing on that? I know you were talking about the state police, for example, looking for ways to being able to hire more state police officers. How are we doing? Have we been able to make a growth on that?
It's going great. I signed an executive order doing away with the college degree requirement for 92% of state government jobs.
Wow.
I mean, basically, like, unless you have to be a lawyer or a doctor, right, in your state government job, something like that, you don't need a college degree anymore. Because I wanted to make clear, we value skills. We value military experience. We value whatever experience you bring. And if that experience helps you do a good job for the Commonwealth, I want you to come work for us.
Great.
Now, I signed that executive order. It was about a year and a half ago now, Victor. Here's the data. Since I signed that, 60% of all of our new hires don't have a college degree. That's a big deal. And on the police side, for the state police, we saw a 258% increase in the number of applicants for open positions who don't have those college, now no longer require those college credits. Here's the thing. We didn't hire all of those who applied.
Yeah, of course.
But by having a bigger pool of people to pull from, you get a more diverse pool of applicants.
Absolutely.
You and I have talked about that over the years. You get more people from the local communities that they're trying to serve and protect. So you're just getting a bigger range, a wider range of people who can do this work and support our communities.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you again for taking the time for visiting us here in our studio. We always look forward to having you, and thank you for everything you've been doing. And we look forward to keep having you come over and giving us a call every once in a while, and making sure that you stay connected with our Latino community all over the state. So once again, thank you for coming again.
Hey, I appreciate it, Victor. I always enjoy our conversation because you and I talk about real stuff, the stuff that's on people's minds, and always enjoy talking to you, especially when I get to come in the studio and hear the cheering and the laugh tracks in the background. I'll see you soon, man.
Absolutely. El gobernador, señores, de Pensilvania, Josh Shapiro, con nosotros acá.